most young people are going through in the different societies that we live in today. And one of the effects of emotional violence has been seen in the level of drug addiction that is increasing in our societies. The number at which our young girls are being engaged into teenage pregnancy, teenage prostitution, and all these things come down to what we have called emotional violence. And the number one place where emotional violence is highly exercised and greatly emphasized and practiced is actually the home setting, the environment where we live in, our places of birth. And unfortunately, most of the people who do these things are actually those who gave birth to us. If you sit carefully and ask yourself and interview or have a moment with the children on the street today, and if you take your time to ask yourself why these teenage girls are getting pregnant from the different societies that we live in, you will actually realize that one of the major causes of these things is violence. And we normally look at sexual and physical violence, forgetting the aspect of emotional violence, which is the most and one of the most untalked about causes of teenage pregnancies in our different societies. To start off, this morning I received a very disturbing call from one of the ladies, one of the girls that I'm trying to work with, I'm trying to mentor, I'm trying to move with. And she calls early in the morning at about 6 a.m. as I'm preparing to walk into the studio. And she tells me how the mother is discriminating her, how the mother is not talking to her. And it's disturbing her. Sometimes she feels that she's not part of the family. She feels her other siblings are being given more attention, more love, more affection, and she's being given less, to the point that even her mother has reached the point of telling her that she is not her daughter. So some of these things have caused a lot of girls to move, to leave home, and unprepared, prematurely walk into the institution of marriage because they feel they need to get an environment where they feel safe, where they feel loved, where they feel, where they feel important. And that's why a lot of things are happening, and girls choose to leave home before their right time. So today we want to just talk about this thing we call emotional violence, fitting in the sexual, physical, and psychological. Now, one of the greatest, I want to tell you something that will deal with our emotions, something that deals with our psychology is something so hard to deal with. That's why today, I really want us to take a very short time to talk about this thing, emotional violence. And sometimes emotional violence starts right from the very beginning of the conception of a child. When the two mothers when the mother and the father come together, that when you as a child came as a result of what we will call unwanted pregnancy, that is where the rejection starts from. You become a child rejected at its conception. A child who was, you were not, in the planning of your parents, you were not planned. Okay? So, I'm really very tough on this because it is something that is happening in our different societies. Emotional and rejection is the greatest emotional violence that any parent can cause. The worst pain that a parent can inflict in the life of his or her child. And when a child begins to feel rejected, begins to feel unwanted in an environment where he feels he's supposed to be safe and most wanted, most loved, he or she is going to be forced to walk out of that society to go and find where he or she can feel the love, can feel the affection, can feel the joy, can feel the peace. Everyone is looking for peace. Everyone is looking for love. Everyone is looking for affection. And if we cannot find that affection from the source of life, from the people who gave life to us, we are going to find it elsewhere, but in the wrong way. So parents, as we deal with our children on a day-to-day basis, as we interact with them, as we relate with them, let us be mindful that these people are emotional beings. Let's be mindful of the kind of words that we speak to these children. Because the words you speak to your children, how can you as a mother wake up this morning because your child did something? Okay, she tells me a story of she wasn't home. The mother comes home and didn't find her home. But there is someone also in the family who was not home. But they almost returned home at almost the same time, but they went to different destinations. But this other sibling of hers is pardoned, is not even spoken of, is not even shouted at, is not even rebuked, is not even corrected, is not even questioned where he was coming from. But with her sake, she was not only asked where she was coming from, but insults started pouring out, insults started flowing out. Now, when you have more than two children, okay, more than one child or children, whatever, it depends on the English you know. But I want to tell you, if you have more than two and you start to show a certain degree of favorism, you favor the other one more than this one, there is going to be 100% chance that this other child who is feeling neglected, who is feeling less loved, who is feeling like she's not being given the attention that you're giving other siblings of hers or his, the possibility is high that this person is going to be tormented mentally, psychologically. They're going to be feeling out of place. They're going to be feeling unwanted. They're going to start feeling like they are a mistake. You hope you get what I'm trying to say. And when they start to feel like they are a mistake, they are unwanted, they will look for every way possible to find themselves walking out of that institution, out of that environment, out of that society, so that they can find a place where they feel loved, where they feel important, where they feel valuable to the people around them. The issue pertaining emotional violence is very, very sensitive. That is why we say, as a young person who is planning to settle one day, you need to get to understand how you should deal with your children, how you should deal with, how to handle which age group. Because every age group has their own way, their own needs, and every age group is very sensitive with the way they are being handled. Emotional violence has led to the number of people you're seeing today. You've heard of people getting enslaved into drugs. You have heard of people getting enslaved into sex. You have heard of beautiful young ladies. You have heard of involving themselves in the game of prostitution. As a mother and as a father, who among you deliberately gave birth to his or her child for the purpose of becoming a prostitute? The issue pertaining emotional violence is serious. Emotional violence has contributed highly to the number of suicide cases happening. Personally, I felt suicidal as I was coming up in my growth, with 3 unsuccessful attempts of suicide. Why? Because in my home, in my place I was living in, there is a point where you feel like you're being handled like a slave in your own father's home, by your own parent. Then you ask yourself, if you who gave birth to me are treating me like this, how do you expect the world to handle me? How do you expect those who do not even see, who do not know me to treat me? We begin to feel useless. We begin to feel worthless. We begin to feel out of place. And so, for us to feel useful again, we have to look for societies where we are supposed to fit in. If we cannot find the societies, we look forward, we strive to create the societies. And how can we create a society where we feel we should do things the way we feel like, we are loved and we are cherished? I may come today very harsh and very tough, but I want you to pardon me, because this is something that is happening every day. Not in schools, not in our workplaces, but they're happening in our homes, by our parents. The way our parents are handling affairs is not proper. For heaven's sake, how can you look at your own offspring? How can you look at your own flesh and blood? How can you treat your own daughter like you're treating your co? Even sometimes your co is treated better. You literally chase away your daughter from her home, her parents' home. You are the parent, you're sending away your daughter out of the home where she's supposed to be. Now, when this girl goes out and finds a guy who is willing to falsely, falsely to cherish her with some false love, she is going to give in. She's going to give in. And the outcome of such relationships are always bad, are always disgracing, are always regrettable. And now this girl, after this young boy using her, after this old man, sugar daddy, using her, the chances are very high that this man is going to dump her for someone he loves. We need to get serious about these issues. We have spoken about sexual violence. Media has spoken about it. We have seen adverts running, sexual harassment. Yes, this is also important. Physical violence. We have talked of domestic violence. But there is an aspect of these things that we are neglecting. The emotional part of us, when we are driven by emotions, where we are driven out of emotions, when our life is forced to move by emotion, is dictated by emotions, the outcome of whatever we do most times is highly regrettable. We always live to regret these things. Why should we continue? For how long must we continue to let our children go through the pains? Parents, to a certain degree, we are contributing highly to the different social and psychological problems our societies are really, really going through. I speak out of the depth of my heart. I speak as someone who has been a victim of these things. I know where it can lead someone, where it can lead a child, what the regrets a child can have in his adulthood. Because they have gone through this, because they have felt like their mistake. It kills our self-esteem. It kills our confidence. As a student, it kills your academic success. Your level of succeeding as academically badly reduces. It is something so serious. And we have to reach, that's why we have been able to create this platform. Something to talk about emotional violence. You may never lay a finger on your daughter or on your son all the time of his life, but you would have destroyed your son, you would have destroyed your daughter psychologically, emotionally. When a child reaches a point where he or she does not see value in himself, where she doesn't see value in herself, such a person is toxic to society. Such a person is like an acid. He is. I just wish sometimes I had some parents in the studio and I'm speaking to you live, to my live audience. When we move away even from our families, there is something that even in the relationships we go through, the boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, sometimes we are not tortured physically. Sometimes we are not tortured sexually. Most times we are tortured psychologically. Most times we are tortured emotionally. Life is way more than what we feel for that moment. For heaven's sake. Okay, there are some circumstances we cannot go back and correct. For example, if I was a child born out of rape, I cannot go back and correct this fact that maybe my mother was raped. And because my mother was raped, if my mother was not helped, the possibility is high that my mother is going to carry all that anger, that negativity, that violence, and place it all on me, an innocent soul who does not know where all this anger, all these things are coming from. We need to know that our children are innocent. Whatever happens to us as mothers, whatever happens to us as fathers, leading to the birth of this child, leading to the conception of this girl had nothing, had no role to play. Whatever happens between me, a husband and a wife, my children have my unborn kids have no role. The separation between a man and a woman, yes, they affect us as children. They say where two elephants meet, the grass suffers. The fighting between two people, most times, even the two people may go because they separate out of their own egos. Sometimes it's ego, sometimes it is maybe what they cannot solve or what they fail to solve before they jump into the relationship. Relationship generally is complicated because they're dealing with two people from different angles, from different backgrounds, from different upbringing, and they're going through all these things. And then they come together. Everyone is carrying their burden, everyone is carrying their baggage, and they bring it all and pour it in this institution. And because they cannot solve their own issues, they end up passing it on to their children. The children become like the punching bag where they relieve their anger, their frustration, their disappointment. We are contributing highly to the different things that are happening in our generation. We have looked at our children as enemies. We don't sit down and reason to them as a father-child relationship, mother-child relationship, mother-daughter relationship. And we are causing a great havoc to the next generation. We are causing a great havoc to the leadership of this country. Because we are raising leaders who are going to look at others the same way we are looking at them. We are raising leaders who are going to look at other people the same way we have raised them. We need to be very conscious of how we are. Never rule, never lead things with your emotions, because emotions change. Every time we do things, emotions will change. Today, emotion is this, tomorrow, your emotions shift. They're like the chameleon you see with different colors. They change according to the circumstance and the environment they're in. So that's how emotions move. Because your daughter you're seeing today is the same girl who is supposed to take care of you in your old age. But how will you approach her? It is sad. It is painful. This is coming as a rebuke. Today is not coming as a teaching. It is coming as a rebuke. That parents, you are causing a lot of havoc to this generation and the next generation. Never pour your frustration on an innocent soul. Deal with your frustration. Open up to the person who has hurt you and solve the issue. The Bible is not wrong to say that do not let the sun go down when you're still angry at a brother. The Bible knows that when the sun goes down when you're still angry at a brother, the possibility is high that you're going to carry the same negativity, the same anger, and affect. It becomes like an infectious disease that keeps on moving from one person to the other. And that's how emotions is. And that's how anger does. That girl who is being treated like that, tomorrow you're going to hear that same girl has walked out, has gotten a guy, and they're settling together. They are cohabiting. Some children enjoy being at school more than at home. Not because they love to study. I want to tell you the facts. Parents, some of your children love being at school not because they love school, but because they want to step away from your company. They want to step away from your presence. They want to keep away from you. Are you seeing what we are creating? If you, as a parent, your children are now running away from you. Because now the school has created for them this atmosphere where they feel loved, where they feel they're free to express themselves psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. And then at home they feel like they are being, for heaven's sake, if the God of Israel, the God who created you and I, were to treat us like this for the wrongs we do every single hour, where would we be? Where honestly would we be? Today, I have come to rebuke. Today I have not come to teach. Today I have not come to talk with love. Today I have taken in and have put on the holy anger of God. Parents, it is time you have to sit down on a round table and sort your issues. For heaven's sake. Sometimes you will say, I was forced to give birth to you. This marriage was a forceful marriage. Circumstances forced me to conceive you. Heavenly Father. For how long must this continue in our society? I speak as a Ugandan. I speak as someone who has felt the pain of being on the street. I speak as someone who has longed to experience, to feel to know what it feels like to be embraced by a father. To hear the word from a father that I love you. To hear the word from a mother that I love you, son. You're one of the reasons I work so hard. It's very painful. It's very emotional. We need to stop acting all this perfect, all this good, all this real. But yet, deep within us we know, deep within us we understand that the last time I was here and we talked about teenage pregnancy. And I told you that Uganda takes the trophy when it comes to rating teenage pregnancy in sub-Saharan Africa. 25%, that is too much. And you know what things are causing these things? These things that some of you parents do. Some of you parents, you are too good to condemn. You're too good to judge what your children do. But you never look at yourself as the cause of these problems. When a child gets pregnant, when a child starts to cohabit, sometimes we do not want to know why this girl has chosen to cohabit, why this boy has chosen not to go back home after his graduation at the university, why he or she has decided to remain and rent somewhere around Kampala with his so-called boyfriend or girlfriend. And we make a lot of noise. We rebuke, we abuse the generation, we abuse this century for losing respect, for losing morals. But then we forget that we, the parents, are actually contributing to the things that are happening. Me, I have said it, that parents, young people, if you are not ready, first calculate the cost of marriage before you can jump into any marriage. The cost of marriage is far beyond the weddings and the introductions. Parental love is the greatest cost, is the highest cost you'll have to pay. Parental love is the greatest cost you'll have to pay for this marriage, for this relationship, for this institution. Parental love. When you don't invest in parental love, when you don't calculate the cost of parenting, if you don't calculate this cost before you can even get married, and you just look at the celebration on the day of your wedding, the wedding gown, the ring, the cakes, the celebration, you are killing a generation. If you're not able to think beyond, if you're not able to think beyond just the wedding, if you're not able to think just beyond the introduction, beyond the honeymoon, and focus on the parental love as one of the greatest things you'll have to pay all your life, the cost you'll have to pay on a daily basis. And parental love will involve also things to do with emotional part of us. You will have to provide for your children emotionally. You have to provide for them spiritually. You have to provide for them physically, materially, academically. The basic needs. Marriage is for smart people. Read books on emotional intelligence. All your opinions are welcomed. You will say, I'm quarreling at you today. I'm shouting at you today. Your opinions are highly welcomed. But today I am rebuking. Because this thing is taking its toll in society. This thing is, and it seems people, we are confusing them with discipline. We are confusing them with discipline, but no, that is not discipline. That's beyond discipline. No one wants to be rejected. No one wants to be abandoned. No one wants to be hated. We are created to love and to be loved. No one is born to be on the street and be called a street child. No one is born, no one studies to become a prostitute. Circumstances beyond our reach, beyond our control, forces us to join the field of prostitution. Because sometimes even we are afraid. When you're in a certain situation, you're afraid to go and open up to our parents. because we don't have that relationship. It is painful to see a very potential leader, a young man who can turn out tomorrow to be a leader of greatness, wasting his life in drugs and alcoholism. Now, when you sit down with these people, when you sit down to analyze the situation these people go through, you will understand that one of the things that is forcing them to where they are is the action and reaction of their parents towards them. Let's learn to relate with our children. Let's learn to deal with our emotional differences. Let's learn to deal with our pains without necessarily involving our children into it. It is wrong. Some young girls have been forced because they feel they are not loved. They don't have the attention of their parents. You know, some of these girls are walking on our streets half naked. Some of these things is not actually fashion. Some of these things, they have been forced because they know maybe when they dress in a certain way, it's the only way they'll be able to pull the attention of the men around them. And now people who have suffered from these kind of things turn out to become such people in society. And then you're walking on the street, you're seeing this half-naked woman or lady walking on. And before you start throwing your insults, first sit down and ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you on the street? Why are you half-naked? Why are you dressing like this, young lady? Parents, let's stand up. Let's stand up. As I summarize today's episode, today I just wanted it to be that, brief. I just want parents to understand. Today I want every parent who is watching, and every boyfriend who is watching, and every girlfriend who is watching, and you have been relating with your so-called partner in a certain way, your child in a certain way, I want you to focus on this. Imagine the way you are treating them was exactly the same way you are being treated. The second tool in the toolkit of identity establishment, we said was empathy. If you are this parent, how would you feel? How would you feel if you were to stand in the shoe of your son, or of your daughter? Well, I would love to leave you with that question today. I look forward to meeting you again tomorrow. Same place, same station, same time. I remain your host, Owinji Both Innocent. Have a blessed day. By the way, His Excellency the President will be speaking to us today at 8 p.m. So you need to you need to hear what he has to say about the way forward of the lockdown. Otherwise, have a blessed day and God bless you.